I didn't wake up that morning thinking I was about to lose my job, stand up to a badge, and accidentally step into a fight way bigger than myself. I woke up thinking about coffee rent and whether the pancakes would sell before noon. That's it. Just another early shift at a place most people drive past without noticing. Funny how the days that change you forever always start like that. My name's Lila Harris. I was 26 working double shifts at a roadside diner called Willow Creek Grill, tucked off a state highway where truckers stopped and locals argued about the weather. I wasn't special. At least that's what people like to remind me. Black waitress, small town. No degree yet, easy to underestimate. I'd learned to live with that look people give you. The one that says they've already decided who you are before you open your mouth. The diner was my anchor. The smell of grease and coffee, the cracked vinyl booths, the bell over the door that rang like a tired old clock. I knew every regular, every creak in the floor. And then there was Arthur. Quiet old man, always the back booth by the window. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream. Paid in exact bills folded so tight they looked ironed. He wore the same brown coat every day, sleeves shiny from age boots repaired more times than I could count. Most folks barely saw him. Some whispered. I saw him. That morning I noticed his hands shaking more than usual. Not from cold, from nerves, from life. When I dropped his coffee, I added a cinnamon roll on the side and said, "Just in case you get hungry later." Tried to refuse. They always do. I smiled and walked away before he could. Kindness is easier when you don't wait for permission. About 20 minutes later, the room changed. You know that feeling when the air gets heavy all at once? When conversations dip and forks slow down, the door swung open and in walked Deputy Collins. Big guy, thick neck, uniform pressed sharp enough to cut glass. He carried himself like the diner belonged to him. Behind him was a younger officer, nervous eyes, hands too still. Collins scanned the room, then locked onto Arthur like he'd found what he came for. He didn't say hello, didn't order coffee. He walked straight to Arthur's booth and stood there looming. "Didn't expect to see you still hanging around," he said loud enough for half the diner to hear. Arthur didn't look up, just took a slow sip. "I have as much right as anyone," he said quietly. Collins smirked. "That so funny? Last I checked, men like you usually move along when they're told." His hand rested near his belt, not casually, not accidentally. Deliberate. Threatening. I felt something tighten in my chest. I'd seen this before. Not with Arthur, but with people like him. People who didn't fit neatly into someone else's idea of acceptable. Collins asked for ID. Arthur asked if he was being detained. Collins leaned closer. "You want to play lawyer today, old man?" That's when I moved. I didn't plan a speech. I didn't weigh consequences. I grabbed the coffee pot, stepped closer, and said, "Is there a reason you're bothering my customer during breakfast?" Collins turned surprised, then amused. "Sweetheart, this is police business," I said. "This is a diner. He's having coffee. Unless you have a reason, you're done here." The room went silent. Even the grill hiss felt loud. Collins looked me up and down, slow, insulting. "Go back to pouring coffee before you get yourself into something you don't understand." My hands were steady, even though my heart wasn't. I understand intimidation when I see it, and I understand this isn't right. Arthur tried to wave me off, eyes pleading. I stayed put. Collins leaned in close enough that I could smell his aftershave. "You keep stepping in front of people like this, nobody's going to step in front of you." Then he straightened, laughed, and walked out like he'd won something. I stood there shaking. Arthur looked at me like I'd just handed him something precious. "You shouldn't have done that," he said softly. I refilled his cup and said, "Someone had to." The fallout didn't wait long. That afternoon, the owner pulled me aside, worried, talking about complaints, inspections, attention we didn't need. The next day, a health inspector showed up out of nowhere, combing through things that had never been issues before. Arthur came in quieter than usual, eyes red. He told me I should stay away from him, that trouble followed him, that Collins didn't forget. I told him trouble follows bullies too. Then the stranger arrived. Black SUVs, tinted windows, engines idling outside the diner like something out of a crime show. Arthur went pale. His hand tightened around his cup. "You need to leave," he whispered. Before I could ask why, the door opened. The man who walked in didn't wear a uniform, but you could feel his authority like gravity. Tall, composed suit worth more than my car. His eyes scanned the diner, then landed on Arthur. The silence was suffocating. One of his security guys started telling customers to leave. I stepped forward again. "No. This is a public place. You want privacy, take it outside." The man looked at me for the first time, actually looked. "And you are someone who works here. And that man is a customer." He paused, studying me like I'd just spoken a language he wasn't used to hearing. Then he waved his security back. "Fine." Arthur stared at the table. The man said his name, Arthur, like it carried decades of weight. "You disappeared," he said. "You don't get to disappear and then act surprised when I find you." That's when it clicked. The face, the tension, the familiarity. This wasn't random. This was personal. Later, I'd learned the man's name was Caleb Monroe. Tech mogul, billionaire, the kind of name you see in magazines at the checkout. Arthur was his father, the one who vanished after Caleb's mother died, the one Caleb spent years resenting, chasing, trying to forget. Deputy Collins chose that exact moment to storm back in chest-puffed, ready to reclaim his authority. Until he saw Caleb, until he realized whose diner he'd been bullying. Collins stumbled over his words. Caleb didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "This man is my father," he said, "and if you've been harassing him, you'll answer for it." Collins shrank. Power recognizes power. He left without another word. What followed wasn't a happy reunion. It was raw, ugly, honest. Caleb accused. Arthur admitted. No excuses, just regret. I watched a billionaire struggle with the same pain I'd seen in people with nothing. Hurt doesn't care how much money you have. After that day, things moved fast. Collins was reassigned. Inspections stopped. The diner got help we desperately needed. Arthur stopped running. Caleb stayed in town. And me, I got noticed. Not for being quiet, not for staying in my lane, for standing up. Arthur told me once sitting at his old booth that I reminded him of the person he used to be before fear made his choices for him. Caleb told me I reminded him of his mother. I didn't know what to do with that except keep showing up the same way I always had. Here's the part people argue about in the comments. I didn't know Arthur was powerful. I didn't know who his son was. I didn't stand up because it was safe or smart. I stood up because someone was being treated like they didn't matter. And I'm tired of living in a world where that's normal. Some folks say I should have minded my business, that I got lucky, that things could have gone bad. They're right, it could have. But here's my question to you. If we only do the right thing when we're sure it won't cost us anything, is it ever really the right thing? Let me know what you think. Would you have stepped in or stayed seated?